Welcome to our continuing series on Chinese porcelain and the results that they are getting online. So today we're going to take a look at, I've got 5 items pulled up. Something maybe a little bit special about these items, I did go through and weed out quite a bit more than I usually do. Sometimes I'll show some things that are a little questionable just to look at the high prices that they're still getting. I'm a bit more confident in the authenticity of these 5 items. I think I've picked some very, very fine pieces that did quite well. I will say that prices online right now are mind-boggling, especially in the sub $5,000 category. Just a lot of things really exploding in price. And I'll also say that I don't know that I've ever seen more fakes, more reproductions, copies, whatever you want to call them. I don't know that I've ever seen more perform so successfully on the market. Like the number of fakes and obvious fakes at that are selling above $1,000 is truly shocking. Um, so a lot of things to think about there. If you are in the market for some fine Chinese porcelain, be careful. And always, before we get in here, if you support the channel, you like what we're doing, make sure to hit the subscribe. We really appreciate it. And let's get right in here. So our first item is absolutely fantastic. This is a spectacular Chinese porcelain Jardiner. Really, really well painted here. You can see very mid to late Tianjing. Okay. So this is possibly the artist that's marked. I don't read Chinese, not yet. I'm working on it, so I can't help decipher here. Always appreciate if someone drops it in the comments, but let's take a look at the things I do know. You know, we have here some painted bird scenes that do look very period. Well done as well. It looks like this was used through its life, so we have some pretty good use marks that it would acquire over many years, and just a wonderful scene of a mother bird feeding quite a large insect to their offspring. Jardiniers, I rather like Jardiniers because there are a lot of things about Jardiniers that become difficult to fake properly. It's very obvious when one has been used versus fake aged. The lack of uniformity in some of the discoloration is really encouraging here, as well as a little bit of the crazing on the inside that looks pretty natural. The big thing though is let's take a look at this base, and this is exactly what you expect from a Jardinier base. They tend to um, look a little bit more earthy than regular bases. And part of that's because of what it was used for. So this looks really good, and it performed extremely well on auction. I'm not too surprised. The bug does look a little strange for me if I'm trying to pick out things that might not fit the picture, or fit the period, but everything else looks pretty good here. There's lovely tree scenes. This does seem right around the turn of the 20th century, which is really one of my favorite periods of porcelain to follow, mainly because just it's what we have a lot of around me. So let's take a look here. $18,111 hammering down about a month and a half ago in January, coming out of an estate in Amherst, New Hampshire, which certainly adds to the provenance. Looks like they had a large amount of Russian antiques and other good items. So an acceptable seller, Chamberlain Antiques, a good seller. And let's take a look at the bid action. Oh no, are they going to require eBay has changed? We can't look at bid action anymore, but that is all right. I'll have to create a dummy account for this then. So we will continue. 86 bids though is a good amount of action. I was wondering if there was an offline portion of the auction, but it doesn't really look like it. Usually those are set up a little bit differently. So 86 bids to get up to $18,000, quite impressive, and a really nice looking piece. Um, Quite different to see that feeding scene. So bravo to the buyer and seller. We have another pair of Jardiners. I don't know what it was, but Jardiners seem to be. I think there's actually three of these five are Jardiners, and part of that is that some of these are items that just do give confidence as to their authenticity. Here we have this lovely painted rim that really would look nice with any number of plants inside of this. I'm always split on jardinières, whether they should be used or not. I think if you take good care of them, there's no problem in using them. We do get the nice red, the deeper red with the famille rose type patterning here. We have the lucky bats looking down with a little bit of a peach blossom and maybe some jewels in between the two, or seeds. But really nice looking piece. We have this border, which is pretty typical for late 19th, early 20th century Qing pieces. Let's take a look at the base. Yeah, see here we get some good picture of the wear. Nice on the buyer, or nice on the seller to put these high resolution photos. You can really take a look in here. This does appear to have 100 years of age on it at least. Let's take a look at that base. So, like I was saying, a bit more rough on the bases for the Jardinières, and that just tends to be because of what they're used for. You don't need to be as finished. They don't need to be finished in the same manner as the finer pieces of porcelain. Very nice overall. Quite nice to have the pair of them. Really would make some smashing look in a smart house. So very nice overall. Good on the buyer and the seller here. I do believe this one to be authentic. There's a couple pieces about it that do encourage me to think so. Possibly, 1900, 1910. And here we have again selling very well. The Jardinières seem to be doing very well here. A lot of confidence pushing the auction, coming out to $10,399 with 74 bids. So a lot of action in on this one and pushing it quite up. Overall in good used condition, but some wear, no repair. Very nice. And good to show you that you can still not have an HTML setup and have some text listing and still have your items take off. I would be a little scared to spend $10,000 on an item on a seller with 10 or very few results. Let's see any other items. Maybe some fine Chinese items passed through recently. Yeah, we have some nicer things. Not going to comment too much on many of these though, but it looks like they did have one real winner in the Jardinières. Quite nicely done. This actually looks kind of nice. Certainly not commanding the same level of price, but a nice little Taza. Very, very birdy, this seller. A lot of birds. A lot of birds. Quite a nice little Taza. But back to the main attractions. Let's take a look here. We've got this rare 19th century Chinese Guangzhou Famille Rose 100 butterfly pattern box. Looking a little shiny, but perhaps that is just the setup for the image. Some really nice work done on these butterflies. And the thing I really would like to see is the rim here. Let's see if we get a close-up of that. Here we have a close-up of a chip. And it looks like we do have some good yellowing to that rim. Overall, quite a nice looking item. Perhaps some causes for concern, but overall, quite a nice looking piece. And here again, 6-character mark. We can't read Chinese, so that's not really our expertise to decipher marks. We really go on visual clues. And yeah, I'm not going to focus too much on this one. Sold for, offer accepted, probably around $3,500. And here, this was actually an interesting item that we saw sell. We love these large punch bowls, and especially the ones with quartz scenes. You get the classic butterflies all around the famille rose pattern. That is decorating this. Just so much intricate painting to go into stylizing something in this manner. And of course, the thing we always look for right away is we go straight to the base. And the base looks spot on for what we'd expect at the turn of the 20th century. To put this at the end of the Qing Dynasty, which is right around what we would expect, like I was saying. There's some decent wear to this base. It does look rather uniform. Again, this sort of not sure how to use the words to describe this. The visual look of this base does look about right. This sort of grainy interior does remind me of plenty of other pieces from this period. So we can take a look at the exterior. Again, one of the things you're supposed to look at in these items is the condition of the exterior and whether it has sort of non-uniform wear that does look like it could have its appropriate age. There's a bit here and there. There's also some investigation is warranted into the figures themselves. The faces and some of the stylization in the background certainly does look to be period to me. I would think this is authentic, though. There are always a couple things that give me pause, and even some truly old and some truly authentic items. It's just very hard to tell, especially over the internet, without feeling something in your hands and being able to look and run your fingers over certain parts of it. But this is looking good for being authentic, and overall not a bad piece. Selling for $2,800 with what looks like to be a decent seller. Let's see if we have any provenance here. All items are guaranteed to be as described, so mid to third quarter of 19th century. I would place this a little bit later, put this as third quarter to end of the 19th century. Let's take a look at the seller's other items as well. See if they've got any other nice Chinese items. That's cool. See the Byzantine harness. Nice looking Meiji piece. So some interesting things, no doubt. And lastly, the final Jardiner of the day. This one I actually rather liked. It comes with the base. And again, you might remember we have this sort of very similar Jardiner pattern that is very late Qing Dynasty, as well as repeating on the top and the bottom. This sort of yellow ground pattern. With again the famille rose stylization. There's a lot of shout out to some very fine 18th century pieces in this stylization, and it might confuse some people, but I think this is very squarely in the late 19th, early 20th century. Wonderful, wonderful colors here. This would be a very nice piece to have decorating and adorning your house. The base, the way that it fits together is fantastic, and just a really nice piece of porcelain. Again, we have the bats. Let's see if we can get close up on the bats. So the bats into the characters. We've got, again, the sort of beading pattern. Really nice rim work here, especially on the underside. You can see that sort of traditional patterning there. Really well painted and really well put together. Very nice. Circa 1900. Pretty confident with that. Of course, someone will always tell me I'm wrong because it is a YouTube video. This one here, we do see quite a bit less wear. I'm not too surprised given that it has its own base, but wow. If you look at the base certainly seems to have an appropriate amount of wear, especially on this underside. That is very interesting looking to me. Looks appropriate. Sometimes these things just sit for a very long time. This porcelain might look a little clear to somebody, but very hard to tell given that this is certainly less than optimal lighting on this. But overall, quite nice. Quite nice. Let's see if the seller has anything else worth taking a look at. So some other Chinese items listed for over $1,000, and some recent sales. Certainly their big winner. Not a bad Yixing teapot. Some little plaques. Some tazas. I don't know if I'd call this tazas. So plenty of other things that they have sold recently. But overall, oh, here we go. This is not a bad Jardiner. But overall, I think really their big winner right here. Quite a nice thing. Coming out of Tucson, Arizona, selling for $1,283 at 32 bids. Not a bad result for a fine Chardonnay from the turn of the century. Well, if you stuck around for the whole video, we really appreciate it. We love taking a look at prices and figuring out what's going for what. And we hope that you stick around as well, so make sure to hit that subscribe. Thanks, folks. Have a great day.